Pollution. I grew up in New York City, so this is a very good example. I can picture this very well. If you see a bus go by you, and then you have like a bunch of black smoke come out at you, and that moment that bus, I don't know if anybody's ever had that happen to them ever in their life, in that moment that's happened to you, that's 60 seconds or whatever, you've been exposed to more pollution, more free radicals in terms of pollution in that 60 seconds than your ancestors did in their whole lifetime. Okay? And that's not something your body's had the opportunity to evolve to in terms of being able to adapt to. It's stressors on your physiology. Internal things. Internal things, honestly, are the things that you tend to do, like your lifestyle choices. What you put into your body is one. Things in your brain, like self-doubt, unrealistic expectations. Putting unrealistic expectations for achieving something in a time frame that you're putting pressure on yourself that's not going to happen. Rigid thinking, rather than being flexible, okay, that's a very, very important factor in terms of internal stresses. And there are several stress management techniques we're going to talk about. They go into a couple different categories. One is changing your lifestyle. Those are taking action things for your lifestyle. Changing your thinking and changing your behavior. Okay, those are the three main categories I want to talk about. Changing your lifestyle, things like Tai Chi, yoga, sleep. We're going to go into some of those kinds of things. Change what's in between your ears. Some people need an adjustment between their ears, okay, in terms of that area. And then changing your behavior. Healthy people make healthy choices. I want you to be able to make healthier choices. It will yield better health and well-being for yourself. I'm a big fan of Indiana Jones. Everybody fan of the Indiana Jones movies? Okay. I went to California recently with my kids and went to the Indiana Jones ride. We always go to Disney in Florida. We never considered the California one the real Disney, but we went to the California one because we were teaching involved in a seminar. And in the Indiana Jones ride, Disney's so smart. When you come out of the ride, where do you always go? Yeah, right into the store. I mean, it's just, they bring you right in with your kids. Anyway, in Indiana Jones, there was that scene in The Last Crusade where they have to drink from the chalice, the Holy Grail, and one person picks a golden one and he shrivels up and dies, and then the knight that's guarding it says, he has chosen poorly. Okay? All right, and then Indiana Jones picks the one that's a wooden, it's like, oh, this is the chalice of a carpenter, and he gets eternal life. So, he says, you have chosen wisely. When you walk into the Indiana Jones merchandise toy area, there's a sign above it. I should have taken a picture of this, but there's a sign above that says, great rewards lay ahead for those who have chosen wisely. Okay? It's like, that's interesting. That's right in front of the store where they're going to sell you stuff. So I'm sure that's thought out. But anyway, you want to choose wisely for your health and your well-being. You want to think of the things that you've been given in terms of your health as something that you want to have great stewardship for so you have a long, healthy life. So what happens when we're stressed? There are good things that happen when you're stressed. And I'm going to explain this in terms of the mechanism, but people often get a burst of energy when they're stressed. They'll have heightened memory function. They'll have bursts, or not sustained, but bursts of increased immunity. For example, you ever be in a high stress situation and just feel like you can conquer the world at that time, okay, or for those few hours or that day, okay? People have a lowered sensitivity to pain, and there's obviously certain hormonal reasons that will go into that. The bad things, there's impaired cognitive performance. I'm going to talk about that. When you're under stress, your ability to think is very much decreased, particularly the frontal cortex of your brain. So your ability to reason is affected, and your ability to just think of the higher purpose things and the better choices. You kind of go into a survival mode when you're under stress. Very much so. The frontal cortex of your brain is related to higher thinking, but you get more into your reptilian brain when you're into bad stresses. It just impairs your cognitive ability. Suppresses your thyroid function. People, especially women that are chronically stressed, tend to have impaired thyroid function. Blood sugar imbalance is very much affected by stress. So things like diabetes is one of the big concerns with diabetes is stress. It's a big causative factor that's often overlooked because the way your body controls blood sugar is completely affected by stressful situations. People that are chronically stressed tend to have much higher rates of diabetes. And the sign that comes up from that is that as stress accumulates, they accumulate abdominal fat. As they accumulate abdominal fat, that's a sign of stress, and then that turns into diabetes, especially if they have that before they're 40. Blood sugar imbalance Decreased bone density. Most people don't realize that osteoporosis, osteopenia, one of the things that causes that is chronic stress. It's a contributing factor to your body leaching calcium out of your bones. There's nutritional things too, but stress is a huge factor. Higher blood pressure. Blood pressure is obviously important. That's definitely raised by that. Lowered immunity in the long term. Increased abdominal fat. Fight or flight response is a thing that's responsible for this. Now, here's the thing. Your body's fight or flight response is not a bad thing. You need to have a fight or flight response. It's developed intentionally. So if you're running from a saber-toothed tiger, okay, your body knows to run. And it's fight or flight, okay? Here's the thing. That mechanism in your body has not changed. But now your stresses are different. You may not be running from a saber-toothed tiger. You might be running from multiple faxes and hundreds of emails. And I'm not kidding. But really, or balancing your checkbook might be a life or death kind of experience for you. And your body doesn't know the difference between that and running from your life from some kind of animal that would have attacked you, centuries ago. So your body has that feature, and what happens is the stresses of your daily life, those things accumulate. People will go through a day where they just start out at one event after another, will put them over a threshold from, maybe getting a ticket, and then, getting to work late, and then having an argument with someone on the phone, maybe their mom, I don't know. And then those things kind of accumulate in their body, and then they stay in a chronically stressed state, and they don't realize it. For a while, I was taking care of a lot of the Denver Broncos. And one of them I was taking care of, Bill Romanowski. I had this conversation with him. He's a linebacker, was a linebacker. One of the things that he said was that, one of the things I was teaching him was that when he was on the field, obviously he needs to be in fight or flight. Would you agree? Mm-hmm. Okay. When he's off the field in the living room with his kids, should he still be in fight or flight? Okay? Not at all. He needs to be able to come out of that. Not just mentally, but his body, because your body has a memory of all these things. Lungs, breathing becomes shallow and rapid when you're in fight or flight. You're basically shut down your breathing. Liver, cortisol levels increase, and that affects your body's ability to convert glycogen into blood sugar. Cardiovascularly, your heart rate and blood pressure both increase. Okay? People have chronic cardiovascular problems when they're under stress. Digestive system shuts down. So often people have irritable bowel syndrome or Crohn's disease or all kinds of other digestive ulcers, and it's from chronic stress that they have not been able to release. Eyes, their pupils dilate to sharpen the field of vision, and stays that way. Effects of stress on the body, the things that show up here, okay? Excessive hair loss and baldness, okay, is a factor. I'm not going to point out people. Okay? Excessive hair loss and baldness is a sign of stress. Muscles, neck, shoulder pain, musculoskeletal aches, lower back pain. Very often, people come in and they tell us, communicate often that they have lower back concerns or neck concerns, and they're wondering if there's a musculoskeletal thing that they injured. Very often, there's injuries that are small, but they have really accumulated stress that their body doesn't know neurologically how to shut off. And if their nervous system doesn't know how to shut off the stress, then it just continues to accumulate as if they're still on the football field, even though they're not at the moment, okay? Digestive tract diseases of the digestive tract, including gastritis, stomach ulcers, irritable colon. Guess what? People will go, never handle their stress. They'll be on 6 different digestive medications and have no idea that it's being caused by stress, but they'll take those things for how long? Forever. They'll just take the things that they're been prescribed. Same thing with blood pressure. They'll take them forever, okay? And without any qualm of realizing that, wow, I'm doing this, and what is this doing to my body? Because that's another, external stress on your physiology. Skin, outbreak of skin problems, brain, insomnia, headaches, irritability, anxiety. We're going to talk about some sleep strategies. Oral ulcers and excessive dryness in your mouth is very common related to stress. Heart, we talked about. Lungs, very much when people have stress, it really can exacerbate asthmatic conditions, things that could, they would never have to take medications for, or take inhalers for, because they have chronic stress, they're needing to do that regularly, their body doesn't shut down. Because guess what? Stress, that fight or flight response, it's an inflammatory response. So all of these things are related to chronic inflammation in your body. The stress that you don't recover from leads to inflammation. And inflammation doesn't mean just something sore and hurts and you got to put ice on it. Inflammation means just inflammation in your digestive system.